Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. That's Stephen Howson. Manchester City 3. I couldn't even get my words out there, but we don't edit. Manchester United 0. Steve, talk to me. Are you getting immune to some of these results, or does it still infuriate you or frustrate you?
No, I actually think like you begin to care less. And people are like, oh, standards have slipped. Of course they have, because you know how deluded you would be. If we was like, you know what? Because let's be honest, for a large portion of the last 35 years, the aim was to win everything.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting here going, well, if we don't win the Champions League this year, I'm going to be fuming. You go, Steve, not in the Champions League. You go, well, that's a blow.
Yeah.
So of course standards have slipped. Like, of course you're going to accept different stuff. We would have probably been pretty damn happy if we'd have won the FA Cup and got top 4 this year. Come in. I think we would all call that a rousing, successful season. Yet, at any point, Sir Alex's reign, that's a bad season.
Yeah.
So have standards changed? Yeah, of course they are. Do you become immune to it? I mean, we haven't won back-to-back games under Ruben Amorim.
I mean, that even by standard slipping post-Fergie, which they have, and you're right, I said this a few months ago, like, going into this season, I can't remember where the bar's been so low. Because I think this season, even if we'd have got we get top 6, I think that might be okay, in inverted commas, for a lot of people. You can go, well, we've gone from 15 to top 6. We're in Europe. We can build on it. I've never known a time when a manager wouldn't sort of be getting sacked for that. Yeah, like Van Gaal finished 5th and won the FA Cup and got sacked. I know Jose finished 6th but won 2 trophies, and it was his first season, and one of those trophies got him into the Champions League. But the standards have slipped. But just as a fan, how do you feel about it? Because regardless of how much the standards have slipped in terms of what we expect and all the rest of it, watching United just basically, I won't say not turn up, but you could say not turn up, but just get brushed aside with relative ease by a City team that aren't even that great.
No,
if we're being honest,
they're not.
How do you sort of compute it all?
I'm sure there's people saying get rid of the manager. I'm sure they're saying this system doesn't work. I'm sure of all of those things. I personally thought Bruno was poor. I personally thought Luke Shaw was abysmal. I thought that there was individual errors, preventable individual errors, that was the cause of almost all the goals, if not all the goals. And then there was a complete lack of control with the ball. We was a little bit toothless in attack. I think we all correctly presumed Brian Mbeumo would be our biggest threat. I think he absolutely was our biggest threat, but it still wasn't enough.
No.
You can still be the biggest threat. We're not getting any goals or assists, and he was our biggest threat. If we was going to score today, if we were still playing now, it'd have been him that eventually gets a goal, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be anybody else, was it?
No, I agree. I completely agree. And it's weird because I thought Mbeumo, for large parts of the game, he did the things that I want to see a United player do. He kept running, he kept trying, he tried to make things happen. He produced a fantastic save from Donnarumma, which I think the majority of goalkeepers would not have saved.
Did you know
that
that goalkeepers are allowed to do that?
I was waiting for some sort of flag. I thought VAR would get involved.
He's touched it with his hands.
Yeah, you can't save that. And apparently, someone came in the chat and said, "No, you're allowed to do it.
You're allowed to save opposition shots.
Opposition shots, even really
do we know that?
Even really good ones. Maybe someone should give Amorim a heads up, because it's obviously
that'd probably be quite good if we started doing that.
But
at least we got rid of Anana, so we're gonna, that we shouldn't be making.
Do you think, when it comes to this system, because you just named the 2 things that are trending, yeah? In fact, you've named everything that's trending: Luke Shaw, Bruno, system, Amorim. Do you think changing the system is going to have the effects? Because on one hand, I go, okay, results aren't good enough. Is the system the other issue? On the other hand, you say, but individual errors, doesn't matter whether you're playing 4 at the back, 3 at the back, 2 at the back, 1 at the back. If people are doing things that are basic wrong, then you're always going to concede goals.
What was your question?
Do you think the system needs to change? Is the system the issue?
Yes and no. There has to be a tweak to the system. I mean, I did a whole video on this week about the differences between Glasner's and Amorim's, and why that system with Glasner is at least perceived to be working a bit more than Amorim's is. And even, I think maybe the third goal actually was a bit more of a transition goal, but the control that Crystal Palace have in games just feels so much more than ours, and that gives you a footing to sort of build on. You can't just play end-to-end basketball games. It's mental. Honestly, you're asking so much out of the players to be able to deliver if you just can't control what's going on in a game. And we don't. I know it's City, and City will probably try and take the ball off every single person, but when we got it, it didn't look like we had the quality to do stuff. It looked like there was send it forward into the likes of Sesko and Mbumo, and ring me up tomorrow and I'll come up with whatever else we're going to try and do as well. But there wasn't at any point where, because at times like the game got into that, and it was City that went, whoa, fuck this, what are we doing? Calm it down, try and knit some play. And I think the first goal came from them literally doing that. They went, come back to me. I think Rodri even went, give me the ball. They went side to side and then went back forward again. Bit of control.
Yeah.
Who in the United team is capable of doing that?
Well, that brings me to the other point you made there about Bruno Fernandes, because the reason he's trending and everyone's debating it is because he's not had a great game. It's not season, yeah. It isn't working with him in this position. No. And you go back to the Europa League final. I thought he had a bit of a stinker there in a deeper role, and him giving the ball away led to the goal. Bruno's gone from one of the best players in the Premier League to someone who's just bang average. Is that just purely him playing in the wrong position? And if so, what do you do about that?
Yeah, I think it is.
Right.
I personally went with, for my predicted 11, I think it was Ugarte and Casemiro. But I also wouldn't have minded Mainu just for the pure fact of control. I think he came on and made 17 out of 17 passes. And you're like,
I thought he did well when he came on, Kobe Mainu. Yeah. I did. It's a shame because that's probably going to be it for him for about the next few weeks when Mount's back.
But I also did a bit of a deep dive last week into why Ugarte probably works. And you look at the goal that we conceded where Phil Foden's run off Bruno Fernandes. The Premier League is so fast, so frantic, that players have to do a large part of their playing on instinct. And if you don't have defensive instincts and you've got attacking instincts, like you ask Erling Haaland to be a good centre-half and he's going to struggle. At times he'll look good because he's got a physical presence and he understands football.
I mean, he did it for a bit, didn't he? Remember that 10-minute spell when he turned into Gary Pallister? I was like, what's going on here?
But by and large, he's going to switch off at the wrong times because the Premier League is so fast that you're asking players to just play on so much instinct. Yeah. Bruno's instincts are like a puppy dog with a new ball. That's, he wants to go and get it. And if you put him, I thought it was such a tap-in of a decision for Amorim this weekend, was to have that slightly more defensive pivot.
Yeah.
And to move Bruno forward where his natural tendencies actually help the team rather than hinder the team.
Yeah.
What do you want out of that forward three? You want them to be creative. You want them to maybe take a hell of a lot of risk. You want them to press like lunatics. Yeah. Bruno does all of those things as a pure natural kind of instinct. What do you want out of your double pivot? Positional discipline. You want them to track runners that come off them into the box. You want them to think defensively first. You want them to have elicit a bit of control in a game. Bruno can do some of those things, but naturally he doesn't fit doing those things.
No.
Whereas the position that you could have put him in, which is an easy decision to make, would have elicited. You could have even rotated some players around, move Ahmad back to right wing back, move Mazraoui into the 6 and move Bruno forward.
And
you think, like, why could that not have worked? And at one point, actually looked like we were playing a back 4 because you got Mazraoui was kind of like right back. Luke Shaw had gone into the left back position. We had 2 centre halves, and you're like, just do that, lads. Like, honestly, like, why not just go with what we're doing here? Like, you can still have the same principles, and I genuinely think that we've got the component parts of a really good midfield 3 and an absolute shit show of midfield 2.
It is frustrating, and it is worrying as well because you've gone out and you've got basically 2 number 10s, 2 new number 10s. Is he going to move them around? Is he going to drop one of them? And you've got a new striker as well. How does that work? If you're going to move Bruno into a number 10, then what happens to Mbumo and Cunha and Sesko? There's not enough spaces there. Someone's got to get dropped. It is a bit of a nightmare. Just in terms of Amorim, do you think he's under genuine pressure here? Or do you think that Ineos are all in and it's like, look, we're going to at least give him to the end of the season? Because I know it's only 4 games in, and look, any manager can lose at the Etihad. But it's not just this result. It's the other results from last season, and also the underwhelming results, if not performances, throughout this season. Grimsby aside, do you think that there is a genuine fear that he might, I think I can't remember who it was Gary Neville, I think, spoke about October. You don't get results by October, and we're not that far off it.
Jesus Christ, you've got Chelsea next.
Yep.
You've got Brighton coming up soon, Brentford soon. Obviously, you've got Liverpool. You've got Crystal Palace at home, which is the only gimme of a game that you've got. It might not be. If you don't win any of them, how do you see him surviving that? There was several questions that you asked in there. Do I think he's under pressure? Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah.
Jim Ratcliffe was at the game today. I think Jim Ratcliffe is very impatient. And I think he will be immediately going, I need answers. And sometimes answers doesn't mean sack someone.
No.
Answers can mean explain to me how this improves.
Yeah.
And that is a valid question. Explain, sit down. Even if you want to go and sit down with Wilcox, Barada, or maybe you get involved with the manager as well. Maybe you have a fucking Zoom meeting with him and you go, lads, I'm just an owner. I don't understand. You fuckers explain to me. You guys are the football experts. Explain to me how by the end of next month, the month after that, and the end of this season, this improves, because what I'm seeing at the moment, and this is the worrying part, I don't see him learning. We saw last season, you saw Rasmus Højlund, who, by the way, I don't give a fuck that he scored it. It's irrelevant. We saw Rasmus Højlund start the season and think he was doing the fucking IBJJF World Championships and just doing jiu-jitsu with people. Yeah. And he didn't change all season.
No.
Whether it was Ten Hag or Amorim, he just fucked about and wanted to hand fight with people. He's gone to Napoli, decided to run off someone. You're like, yeah, that's what you were supposed to be doing all along, mate. And then we're seeing the same sorts of things with Amorim at the moment. We're not asking you to change your system. You can still have your system, but there has to be adaptations and there has to be learning. If we're too open in the midfield, can we go 50-50 and have one maybe sit in front of the other rather than both go? There's got to be changes that you make to find ways to win that still fit your philosophy, that still want to be 5 across the back, 2, 3. All of those things are still valid ways of us playing and getting results, but there has to be adaptation. And I think that's maybe what Amorim has to answer, either with performances, results, or as a direct question that we're not going to get. Fan channel won't get it. The media ain't going to get it. But the ownership and Ineos have to know what the answers are to those things. Yeah. And even if they don't turn out to be correct, he's got to be able to answer them. You go, do you see what we're seeing at the moment? Do you agree this ain't good enough? Right. Well, how does it go from here where it is to here where we all want it to be? What are the steps? And you go, well, a better goalkeeper. And you go, right, okay, so we got a better goalkeeper. You didn't use him. Why? Well, I want him to have 2-3 more training sessions, then I'm going to use him. Right, is he going to play against Chelsea? Yeah, okay, right, we'll put that one to bed. Cool. What about the defensive shape? Well, Luke Shaw's not really our first choice. I need Martinez back in, or actually, because of the circumstances today, it's going to be Mazraoui going forward, and then blah, 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 that's the back three. Okay, I maybe don't agree, but you've answered the question, cool. What are we doing about midfield? And if he can answer that, whether he's blagging it or whether he actually has a legitimate answer, he might even say, yeah, actually, Joe, I'm going to throw Mazraoui in there because I think he can do blah, 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 blah. Until we get this signing we're going to get for next year, then we can make do with this, and what we're going to do is change that. And he has to be able to answer those questions. That's not a change of philosophy. That's buying yourself enough time to not get a fucking bullet.
No, because they've spent a lot of money, obviously, in the summer. They've backed him to a certain degree. I know we didn't get the midfielder or whatever, but they have backed him. And they're going to want answers, and they're not getting them on a football pitch. I think
they're entitled to answers.
Reasonable, yeah, I agree with that. I think you can ask, okay, what's going on here, without it being like, well, that's nothing to do with you. You shouldn't be getting involved. I think that's a reasonable thing. I do worry a little bit when I see Amorim, and I know any managers like this. People love Klopp. I've been in Klopp pressers. He can be moody as. Pep can be so difficult. You can ask Pep, how's it going, and he'll give you an answer like you've just tried to fucking rob his house. Like, every manager can be very prickly, very difficult, but it's creeping in a little bit more of Amorim. I just saw a clip from him from post-match. I think it was Ducker asked him about Bruno, and you could see he was annoyed. And that just worries me a little bit, because I don't expect some managers to come after a Derby Day defeat and sit there smiling and going, cracking jokes and being all jovial, but you just see it a little bit more this season with him. He's getting that little edge, and I just hope it isn't him getting fed up, basically, with what he's seeing.
Well, he said it again. Have you seen the quote from him?
No, I've only saw that sort of short clip from the one question on Bruno.
They said, "Are you going to change?" And he said, "No." He goes, "So if Ineos want to change, they can change the man."
I mean, whilst I appreciate he wears that on his sleeve, he's got a touch of the Kevin Keegan's about him saying whatever comes into his head. It is a bit worrying at times when you think.
Famously, that went flawless.
That's what I mean. Sometimes you think, let's not keep talking about you not being here. Let's just park that for a bit and just talk about you being here and getting this right, because that's what we all want to see. Thanks as always, Steve. Go and check out Steve's channel. Go and check out Stephen Howson podcast as well. I sat down with him for a long chat, and I've had loads of messages about that, by the way. Honestly, my Instagram has been crazy, and it's really weird getting all positive messages. I don't know if I can handle it. I'm not used to it. I'm used to always getting criticism, people telling me I'm an idiot. So I appreciate that. So go and check that out. That's been Stephen Howson. I'm Jay Motte. This has been a review. Manchester United losing the Manchester derby. Thanks for watching.